The gas station on Route 9 outside Marbury, Texas, smelled like diesel and cut grass at 5:40 in the morning, and the coffee machine inside was dispensing something that called itself hazelnut and tasted like burnt pennies. Marion Cole drank it anyway. She stood at pump 4 in grey sweatpants and a hoodie turned inside out, watching the numbers climb on a rental Malibu, her breath fogging in the last cool hour before the Texas sun took over. She was 51 years old, and in 4 hours the city she grew up in was going to put her name on a building. She had rehearsed her speech in the shower, in the car, and in her sleep, and she still didn't believe any of it was real. Across the road, a police cruiser sat in the shadow of a billboard with its lights off, engine running, and the officer inside watched her hang up the nozzle, watched her wipe her hands on her sweatpants, watched her the way you watch something you've already decided about. She didn't notice him. She had somewhere to be. The Corliss Planetarium sat on Delmar Avenue between a shuttered furniture store and a church, a low brick dome built in 1961, and when Marion pushed through the side door at 6:15, the smell hit her like a hand on the shoulder. Floor wax, cold dust, pencil shavings. It smelled exactly like it had when she was 9 years old, sitting in the third row with a library card in her sock because her jacket had no pockets, watching a machine older than her mother throw stars across a plaster sky. The janitor, Mr. Otis Grady, had propped the side door open with a mop bucket so the caterers could load in. Nobody told him the door was wired to a silent alarm. Nobody told him that alarm went straight to Marbury PD dispatch as a possible break-in in progress. Marion was alone in the lobby, standing in front of a glass display case, when the beam of a flashlight found her back. Inside the case was a white spacesuit glove, a mission patch, and a photograph of a little girl at a science fair, and she was looking at all of it with her coffee going cold in her hand. "Ma'am, step away from the case. Hands where I can see them." She turned slowly, the way she'd been trained to do everything. The officer filling the doorway was maybe 40, thick through the shoulders, jaw working a piece of gum. His name bar said Sloan. Behind him, a younger officer, Tandy, had his phone half out of his pocket, like he was hoping for content. "Good morning, officers," Marion said. Her voice was level and warm, the voice of a woman who had talked a crew through a cabin pressure alarm 250 miles above the Pacific. "I'm here for the ceremony. I came in through the side. The janitor let me in. Ceremony's at 10. Officer Derek Sloan stepped inside, boots loud on the waxed floor. "It's 6:15. Alarm's going off, and you're standing in a dark building in a hoodie next to a display case. You want to tell me how that looks?" "I understand how it looks. My ID is in my car. I can walk you to it." "You're not walking anywhere. Name?" "Marion Cole." Sloan's gum stopped for half a second. Something crossed his face. A flicker, like a name half heard through a wall. He'd gone to Marbury East, too, 3 years behind her, and somewhere in the back of his skull a trophy case and a science fair photo were trying to get his attention. Then Tandy snorted behind him, and whatever it was closed like a door. "Marion Cole," Sloan repeated flat. "The lady on the banner. That's who you're going with." "I'm not going with anything, officer. It's my name. Today's ceremony is for me. I'm an astronaut." The word hung in the lobby. Tandy laughed out loud. Sloan smiled without any warmth in it, and shook his head slow. "And this is the moment, if you were standing in that lobby, that you would remember for the rest of your life." "Sweetheart," he said, "I've worked this neighborhood 12 years. Girls off Delmar don't fly rockets. You people are always somebody important right up until the cuffs click." "I'd like to remain calm and cooperative," Marion said quietly. I am not resisting. I'm asking you to call NASA Public Affairs. They have a trailer in your parking lot. What you're gonna do is turn around. She turned around. She put her hands behind her back. Coffee cup still hooked on one finger, until Sloane slapped it away, and it burst against the floor. Brown liquid, running into the grout lines her 9-year-old sneakers had once squeaked across. The cuffs bit down hard, deliberately hard, past the click, past the second click. She exhaled through her nose and said nothing, because she had spent 2 decades learning that panic is a decision, and she was not going to make it. By 9:40, the parking lot was filling, folding chairs, a brass quintet from the high school, 3 school buses unloading 3rd graders in helmets made of cereal boxes and aluminum foil, herded by teachers with clipboards. And through the middle of all of it, Officer Derek Sloane walked a 51-year-old black woman in a grey hoodie and handcuffs toward his cruiser, one hand clamped on her arm, half dragging her when her shoe caught the curb. 100 phones came up. A little boy in a foil helmet asked his teacher, loudly, why the police were taking that lady away. And the teacher didn't have an answer. Marion stumbled, caught herself, straightened her spine. Gravel had torn a hole in the knee of her sweatpants. She looked up at the front of the planetarium. 2 workers on ladders were unrolling a banner down the face of the brick dome. It came down in slow, heavy folds, 30 feet of it, snapping once in the wind before it settled. "Officer," Marion said. "Look up." He didn't want to. But everyone else already had, and the crowd had gone so strange and quiet that he couldn't help it. He looked up. The banner showed a woman in a white NASA spacesuit, helmet under her arm, gold visor raised, the American flag on one shoulder and a mission patch on the other. Silver at her temples, a small scar over her left eyebrow. The words underneath read, "Welcome home, Captain Marion Cole, United States Navy, NASA astronaut. Commander, International Space Station, Expedition 71. Marbury Zone." Sloane looked at the banner. He looked at the woman in his handcuffs. He looked at the scar over her left eyebrow. The gum stopped moving. You could watch it happen in his face, in real time, like watching ice crack on a pond. The certainty draining out, the math arriving. Federal ceremony. Navy captain. 100 phones. His hand was still on her arm, and suddenly his hand was the heaviest thing he had ever carried. And he could not figure out how to let go without everyone seeing him let go. A woman in a blazer came sprinting across the lot, lanyard flying, a NASA badge slapping against her chest. Grace Lynn, Public Affairs. Behind her came a man in a dark suit who did not sprint, did not hurry, just covered ground the way weather does, and when he arrived he held up a credential wallet at Sloane's eye level and kept it there. "Special Agent Whitfield, NASA Office of Protective Services. Federal officer." His voice was so calm it was almost gentle. "You are currently detaining the commanding officer of this event. She is an active duty captain in the United States Navy. Take the cuffs off her. Now." "She was the alarm. We had a call," Sloane said. "She didn't have ID. She was inside the— Look, she matched A." "Matched a what?" Agent Whitfield asked, and let the silence do the rest. Tandy had put his phone away. Tandy had, in fact, backed up 4 entire steps, the universal gesture of a man trying to exit a photograph he is already in. Sloane's hands shook on the cuff key. It took him 3 tries. When the cuffs came off, the crowd made a sound, not a cheer, something lower, and Marion Cole rubbed her wrists, rolled her shoulders once, and did not look at Sloane at all. She looked at the 3rd graders in their foil helmets. She smiled at them. Then she turned to Agent Whitfield and said, in the same level voice she'd used the whole time, "I'd like my garment bag from the rental, please. I'm not giving this speech in a hoodie." Within 40 minutes, the machinery arrived, and it arrived the way federal machinery does, without sirens, without drama, just black SUVs stacking up along Delmar Avenue like a change in the weather. 2 agents from the FBI's Houston field office, Civil Rights Squad, because a viral video of a decorated federal officer being dragged through a crowd of school children travels fast, and 18 U.S. Code 242, deprivation of rights under color of law, travels with it. A Navy JAG lieutenant commander on the phone using the phrase unlawful detention of a commissioned officer in a tone you could pour on pancakes. And Marbury's own chief of police, Raymond Ives, who had put on his dress uniform for the ceremony, and now had to wear it for something else entirely. They ran Sloane through the procedure right there on the planetarium steps, and here is the part people still talk about. They had him stand against the brick wall, the same wall, while they took his statement. They took his sidearm. They took his badge, and Chief Ives held out his palm for it without a single word. The exact wordless palm Sloane had held out for Marion Cole's hands 2 hours earlier. And Sloane, to his credit or his ruin, did not beg. He did not lawyer up on the steps, did not shout about procedure. He unclipped the badge, 12 years of his life in 3 ounces of brass, set it in the chief's hand, and asked one question, so quietly that only the chief and one microphone caught it. "Is my daughter still inside?" Because she was there. Maddie Sloane, 8 years old, Ms. Alvarez's class, 3rd bus, front row, foil helmet she'd made at the kitchen table 2 nights ago, while her father quizzed her on the planets from the couch, still in his uniform, still smelling like his cruiser. She had been so excited to see a real astronaut that she'd worn her helmet to bed. Sloane scanned the crowd for her the whole time they walked him to the car, and he found her, and she was watching him, holding that helmet against her chest with both arms like it was breakable. He was placed on immediate suspension pending termination. The ceremony went on at 11:15, delayed 65 minutes, and Captain Marion Cole walked out in navy dress blues with a torn knee underneath that nobody could see, and she gave her speech to a crowd 3 times the size of the one that had been invited. Then came the 3 weeks. Week 1, the body cam footage. Sloane's camera had captured everything. The sweetheart, the you people, the coffee cup bursting on the floor. And when a deputy chief named Coyle tried to slow walk its release, citing an active investigation, the FBI took possession of it under federal subpoena, and the city council watched it in closed session. 2 council members came out of that room and called a press conference in the parking lot. Week 2, the internal affairs file. Officer Derek Sloane, 9 prior complaints in 12 years, 7 from black residents, 0 sustained. Sergeant Dwyer had approved the arrest over the radio without asking a single follow-up question. Lieutenant Pratt had signed off on an incident report that described Captain Cole as combative and evasive, a report written before anyone reviewed the footage. The report and the footage did not describe the same planet. Week 3, the reckoning all at once, like a levee going. 5 badges. Sloane, fired and federally indicted. Tandy, fired for failure to intervene and for the 90 seconds of phone video he'd shot for a group chat. Sergeant Dwyer, fired. Lieutenant Pratt, fired for falsifying the report. Deputy Chief Coyle, allowed to resign, which everyone understood was a 5th badge with paperwork on it. The city of Marbury, facing a federal civil rights suit and a Justice Department pattern and practice review, settled in 18 days for $12 million, the largest settlement in the county's history. Marion Cole took $200,000 of it for her legal costs and directed the rest, publicly, in writing, into a foundation that funds STEM scholarships for Marbury students and a permanent free admission program at the Corliss Planetarium. The consent decree that followed required body cameras on every Marbury officer, a duty to intervene policy with teeth, and de-escalation training certified by an outside auditor for the next 5 years. At the one press availability she agreed to, on the steps of the building that now bore her name, a reporter asked Captain Cole how it felt. She thought about it for a moment, hands folded, and said, "It took me 8.5 minutes to reach orbit. It took Officer Sloan about 4 to decide who I was. I'd like this city to start taking longer than 4 minutes with people." Then she thanked everyone and went inside, and she did not do interviews after that, and she did not say his name again. Derek Sloan pleaded guilty that winter. 18 months, federal. The last photograph of him in the papers showed a man in a gray civilian jacket getting into his brother's truck outside the courthouse. No belt, no badge, no radio on his shoulder. Just a man with his hands empty at his sides. The rescheduled full ceremony, the real one, with the school kids, happened in October on a clear, cold night, because Marion asked for it that way. She wanted the kids to walk out of the dome and see actual stars. Afterward, she sat at a folding table in the lobby, 10 feet from the display case, next to the grout lines where her coffee had spilled, and signed programs and posters and one battered library book until her hand cramped, and Mr. Otis Grady brought her a paper cup of coffee that tasted exactly as bad as the gas stations, and she thanked him like it was champagne. Near the end of the line, a small girl stepped up to the table. She was holding a foil helmet, dented on one side, the cereal box cardboard showing through where the foil had worn away, and she pushed it across the table with both hands. She had a gap where her front tooth used to be. Her permission sticker, half peeled, read, "M. Sloan, M.S. Alvarez, Bus 3. Marion Cole looked at the sticker. The silver marker hovered for a moment over the foil. Then she uncapped it and wrote in careful letters that would fit on a helmet, "Keep looking up, Maddie. Captain Marion Cole." She pressed the cap back on, slid the helmet across the table, and the girl put it on her head, foil catching the lobby lights, and ran for the door where the stars were.